Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I am the founder of Forward Partners. This is Emily Grace Deal, our Chief Coffee Officer. Emily, what are we talking about today? Why are we here? Why do we exist?
So today, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's go real deep on this one.
So today I want to talk about something that we kind of been having a lot of conversations on, that we work with organizations that have toxic teams that never really intended to be there. No one wakes up and goes, "Oh, I would like to be in a toxic team." That's not their thought process.
I want to walk into work, do damage all over the place, and feel miserable.
Right.
Nobody really does that.
Right. So how did they get there? What is the path to that, and how can you avoid it?
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, right? Like, we don't want to have a toxic
team.
I
don't want to be that person.
No. How do we avoid that? I think the way they get there is unintentionality. Like, it's we didn't decide to be toxic, but we also didn't decide not to be.
Choices, yeah.
We made choices that led us here, but they were very unintentional, right? And so there is an interesting distinction there, right? We didn't decide to be, but we didn't decide not to be either. You have to decide not to be. We have to make choices that move us in that direction.
Yeah.
And that's what I see so many organizations when they're struggling, when there's interpersonal things, they've just been unintentional. They have not decided what they want to be, and they have not made choices to move in that direction. They just move because we get consumed by our task list, right? You and I, we exchange a lot of tasks. We do a lot of how do we organize this? How do we do this? And that's normal. But I think the task list and the projects become the center of some teams' worlds.
Right.
That's their whole conversation. There are no conversations about, yeah, that's what we're going to do, but who do we want to be? You know, how do
what's the end goal? Like, what are we doing? Goals.
Where's the goal? But where goals, period. Complete thought. But where do we want to, like, how do we want to care for each other on the journey?
Yeah.
Not just what do we want at the end, but
true.
Hey, how are we going to interact? How are we going to challenge each other? How are we going to fight? We have a whole nother episode previously about that. By the way, if you're a new listener, there's a whole back catalog. We got some great thoughts out there on some of this
framework for fighting.
Create a framework for how to fight, right? And so when we're not intentional about creating this framework around what we want to be, we don't choose that.
Yeah.
We can't choose to then go in that direction. And I always describe it as ending up in a desert, right? You just look up and you're in the desert, and it's not because you said, "Oh, I want to go to the desert."
Right.
It's because you got just a little off course, just a tiny bit, right? But over a long period of time, you wander totally off course.
Yeah, that's that analogy you use.
Law of thermodynamics.
Yes, I was like, I need your brain to jump in. I was like, I have the visual. That's my creative brain.
If you're listening to this,
I have the visual
on the podcast, you need to go to YouTube at Forward Partner.
I'm over here
watch
expanding
visually.
with my hands.
I knew what you were talking about. So what she's talking about, we use this illustration a lot in our talks. The second law of thermodynamics said everything is naturally moving towards disorganization. And so as leaders, our role is to come back in it and reorganize it, to push it back into shape. And really in this analogy, in this case, it is to reorient it, right? Like if we look and we say, we want to be this, but oh my gosh, we're wandering off in this direction. Why?
Yeah.
And how do we then reorient back towards?
And you're always wandering to bad things. Like it could seem like a good idea, but is it actually?
But it's not necessarily the thing you want,
right?
Yeah, that's a great point because you're right. It is very much sometimes we're wandering towards something that isn't terrible.
Yeah, it seems like a good idea, but if you look at where that's taking you,
it's not what we want. And
right.
so I think as people think about their teams and the direction they go, I think a couple things. One, we just have to be intentional. If we don't want a toxic team, then we have to create the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And we have to very intentionally decide what that is. Who do we want to be? And start going in that direction. Make intentional choices. I think that's the interesting part about this is the word choose.
Yeah.
We all have the ability to choose so many things. We can choose the version of us that shows up every day. We can choose the version of our team that we want. We can choose the eventual destination.
Yeah. So the answer to that question is really you don't want a toxic team. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want to be?
Define that. What do we want that to look like? What do we want to be? And again, that'll go back to a previous episode of aligning our words and actions. So we've said we want to be that. Now let's go take action, move in that direction, and let's go be. I love that. This is a great subject. Thank you for bringing that up today. If people want to send us questions, thoughts, ideas,
lab@forwardpartner.net.
Lab@forwardpartner.net. If people
Forward
want to
Partners.
follow us.
Sorry,
Wait, what?
I missed the S on that one. I missed the S. Lab.
Folks,
Forward
hold on.
Partners.
I threw this to her because she's safe.
Hey, Chad.
I screw it up every
We're
single...
allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to be in an environment where it's okay and it's healthy to make mistakes and own them.
This is like when you have a kid and you teach them something and they use it against you and you're both proud and a little angry.
You're welcome.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed in myself for not embracing it. You're right, it is okay to make mistakes. Set up an environment where your people can make mistakes and not feel bad about it, as long as we're learning and moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we learn from this? Where can people send us thoughts, ideas, criticisms maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. We welcome all that.
Sure.
Lab@forwardpartners.net.
That's perfect. Love it. If people want to follow us on social,
It's without the S. @forwardpartner.
@forwardpartner. We didn't make that intentionally confusing. This is just the world we live in. Thank you for doing this, Emily, our chief coffee officer. Thank you, Danny, for our production czar. Is a czar a bad thing now? I don't know. I'm not even sure you can say that. He's our production czar. Thank you, Wilco Workspaces, for partnering us on this casting of the pod. Thank y'all for watching. It genuinely means the world to us. We love you guys. We will see you next time in the Leader Lab on
It's okay to make a
Leadership
mistake.
Shorts. We're out.